Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All glories to Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Radha Madhava, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada, by whose mercy we are able to understand the divine words of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Hare Krishna, guys. So in this video we'll read verse numbers 21 and 22. So let's start with verse number 21. So verse number 21 goes like this. Verse number 21. Veda vinashinam nityam yaenam ajam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. We'll read again. Veda vinashinam nityam yaenam ajam avyayam katham sa purushah partha kam ghatayati hantikam. Veda knows avinashinam, indestructible, nityam always existing, yaha one who, enam this soul, ajam unborn, avyayam immutable, katham how, saha that, purushaha person, partha o partha, kam whom, ghatayati causes to hurt, hanti kills, kam whom. So Bhagwan continues to say, right, continues to convince Arjuna by saying in this verse, O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Right? So purport given by His grace. Everything has its proper utility, and a man who is situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. Right? Similarly, violence also has its utility, and how to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Although the justice of the peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of the peace cannot be blamed because he orders violence to another person according to the codes of justice. Right? In Manu Samhita, the law book for mankind, it is supported that a murderer should be condemned to death so that in his next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin he has committed. Therefore, the king's punishment of hanging a murderer is actually beneficial. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice, and thus Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all, because at any rate the man, or rather the soul, cannot be killed. So for the administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. A surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient but to cure him. Therefore, the fighting to be executed by Arjuna at the instruction of Krishna is with full knowledge. So there is no possibility of sinful reaction. Right? So Arjuna has the authority to do this action on the battlefield, right? To do this action of killing on the battlefield for upholding the dharma. So guys, now we'll move to verse number 22. So verse number 22 goes like this. Vasamshi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grinati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani shamyati navani dehi. Right? Vashamshi, garments, jirnani, old and worn out, yatha, just as, vihaya, giving up, navani, new garments, grinati, does accept. Right? Naraha, a man, aparani, others, tatha, in the same way, sharirani, bodies, vihaya, giving up, jirnani, old and useless, anyani, different, samyati, verily accepts, navani, new sets, dehi, the embodied. Right? So now Bhagwan says in this verse, my dear Arjuna, as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, The soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. Right? So, purport given by His grace, change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even the modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of the body which appear from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in a previous verse 2.13. Right? So, transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the super soul. The super soul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another, right? As one friend fulfills the desire of another, similarly, the super soul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul, right? The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad as well as the Svetashvatar Upanishad, compare the soul and the super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds, the individual atomic soul, is eating the fruit of the tree, and the other bird, Krishna, is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are the same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits of the material tree while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird and Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is still the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. Guys, this sentence is very important. So we'll read this sentence again. The sentence goes like this: forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another, right? So this cycle of birth and death, right? This continuous cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, birth and death. Why it is happening? Because we as atomic soul, right, we are choosing to forget this relationship that we are having with the super soul, this relationship of the master and servant, right, this relationship of the compassionate father and child, right, this relationship we are choosing to forget. Why we are choosing to forget? Because we are distracted by the maya, right? Under the control of the five senses, we are distracted by maya, right? And that's the reason why we are trapped in this cycle of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, right? And once we are successfully able to remember Krishna at every moment of our life, no matter what stage of life we are at, if we simply, very simply, if we just try to remember Krishna, then at that moment we will be free from this cycle of birth and death. This is the promise to us by the Supreme Lord, right? So we'll continue the purport from where we left, right? Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. The Jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body, but as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as the supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender unto Krishna for instruction, right? The subordinate bird immediately becomes free from all lamentations, right? Both the Mundaka Upanishad and Svetashvatar Upanishad confirm this, right? So the verse goes like this: Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishaya shochati muhya manaha jastam yada pashyati anyam isham ashya mahimanam iti vita shokaha, right? What does this mean? Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully, right? The eating bird, right? The bird who is under the control of Maya, right, is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree, right? But if in some way or other he turns his face to his friend, the Lord, and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties, right? Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna, and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him, and thus hearing from Krishna he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Right? And likewise, Arjuna, we should do the same. We should turn towards Krishna so that he can guide us. Right? He can guide us so that going forward we can find our way back to Godhead, right? Back to Krishna. Right? So we'll continue the purport. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in the righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. Beautiful verse this is. Before ending this video, guys, we'll focus once again on this beautiful statement and a beautiful realization actually, that forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another, right? The cycle of birth and death is happening because we are choosing to forget this relationship. And if we choose to remember Krishna at every stage of our life, then our life is liberated. That very moment our life is liberated. So guys, in the next video we'll continue from verse number 23. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.